Welcome back, everybody. Cliff again with another episode of our boot camp for Off the Line by Mike Nagel and Relative Range Games. Today, we're going to look at probably one of the more important topics for any tactical war game, and that's firing at the other guy, shooting. When I was learning this game a month ago or so, I've not been playing that long, I found this to be kind of challenging, not because it's a complicated process in the game per se. It's relatively straightforward. It's just that there are a lot of subsystems within the game, and a lot of them interact with firing, which gives us modifiers. This system is somewhat unique in that there are two factors that are going to be involved: the column number of the random number generator that you're going to use, and then some success value like morale or elan that will be needed to draw that number or lower to be successful. Low numbers are good in this game. The thing is, a lot of the sub-processes give modifiers. Some modifiers affect which column you're going to use, and some modifiers affect the value that you're trying to achieve. I was having a hard time remembering which modifiers to use and whether they modified the column or whether they modified morale. So to make things a little easier for myself, I made a reference sheet, and Greg Amos included it in the Vassal module. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So it's a single page PDF that I have posted to BGG in the files section. It's under moderation yet on today, September 10th, 2025, for those of you in the future. It'll probably be released by the weekend, but the moderators are going to do what the moderators are going to do. When it's out, it's out. I have a sequence of play here, which covers all the details of how to go through a turn. And then most of the main processes of the game are described in some detail. And I've drawn together all of the modifiers that I can find into one place for reference. So all things like melee and hold fire, reaction fire, reorganization, rally, they're all on here, but today we're worried about the firing process and the related subroutines. So let me zoom in a little bit here. There we are. So to begin with, the target has to be spotted and in LOS. So there's kind of three phases to shooting. One, target acquisition. You got to be able to see him, and he's got to be in range. Two, you have to your fire effectiveness. You're going to lay down fire and try to get some shots on target. If you get shots on target, three, you have to determine what the effect was on the enemy soldiers. Are they unaffected, pinned, killed, / wounded? Wounds and kills are sort of together. They become a casualty. That's what I view KIAs as, is casualties. At any rate, we have to determine if we can spot and if they're in LOS, and then calculate attenuation. We talked about attenuation last time. So let's take a look at the tactical situation here. The Germans are getting ready to try to take this building away from the Americans. We got Lisowski in the building here having a cup of coffee. You can see the smoke coming out of the chimney there. He's relaxing. In the northwest here, we got Assistant Squad Leader Wright kind of wandering around, probably taking a leak. And down here to the southwest, we have Ward with a grease gun, kind of doing overwatch, watching this road, making sure nobody sneaks up on Lisowski and ruins his coffee moment. Out here on the hill, we've got May. Get this out of the way a little more. We've got May sitting on the hill. And down here in this little depression, we've got his assistant squad leader, Schiller, and we got Wagner here. These guys look scary. So Schiller wants to assault this. If I was a German player, I would give one order to this hex. This I6. That would allow us to give a move order here and we'd use the 1 leader order to order May to open fire on the building, trying to pin down Lisowski so that these two guys can move out over the hill and assault the building. That's the overall tactical plan. So let's say the Germans do that and May fires. These guys can't fire. They don't have LOS. The hill's in the way. They can't see over there. So May fires. So how do we do it? We calculate attenuation. Well, it's 1 hex to this crest line. That means there's 1 blind hex. This is a blind hex. But we can see the building, so that's good. We have LOS. So that becomes half 1 plus 3 is 4 attenuation. We have to cross-reference for the German rifle on our table. The 1898 at a range of 4 attenuation tells us to use column 7. So they're going to use column 7. All right. There's a +1 column if you have a red morale value, but that's generally flamethrowers in reality. Now we have to calculate the soldier's modified morale. His base morale is 2. Come on, show me. 2, the black one. Modified by terrain value. Well, open terrain is a 0, so it's still 2. He's not in foxholes. He's not in an improved position. He's in leader range of Schiller, so that gives him a +1 to 3. No hero. He's not prone. He's not assault firing. He's just sitting there. And he doesn't have a crew weapon, so there is no rate of fire, and he can't do traversing fire with a rifle. So it's just 3 on the 7 column. And we draw this, and on the 7 column we got a red 4. 4 is greater than 3, which is a miss, and the red doesn't matter at this point for a rifle. When we get to crew weapons, that red number would have an impact. I'm going to deal with crew weapons separately to make this particular module more compact. I can't cover everything to do with fire here because it just gets too unwieldy. We'd be explaining the whole game after a while. That's a miss. He'd be complete. So we would just mark him complete, and he's done. That didn't work, and these guys would be moving. They have to move now. So that's what would happen there. That's a miss. Let's suppose that he did hit. On a 7, he drew a 2. I'm not scripting these cards. I'm just going to draw until I get what I want. So a 2 is effective fire. With effective fire now, we go over here. Column is less than or equal to modified morale. It's effective. Check the number of enemy soldiers affected in the hex. Well, there is only 1 target in the hex. But if there were more, we have to consider how many they could hit. This guy could hit up to 2 soldiers in a hex. If there were 3 or more, we'd randomly determine which one we hit first and which one we hit second. But we could hit up to 2. You see, this is not modeling a single shot. You're modeling a burst of shots. This is a bolt weapon. And he's racking that bolt back and forth, putting some shots downrange. There's a chance that in that process, he could misfire or jam, even with a bolt weapon. That's this jam number here. So he could affect 2. Some can affect all. Those guys can do traversing fire, and I'll talk about that mostly with crew weapons, though you could, with an MP44, do traversing fire too. We'll worry about that later. You see that the more automatic weapons, the belt-fed guys have a more likelihood of jamming, whereas the bolt-fed have a less chance of jamming. All right, so we have effective fire. There we are. Check the status of each affected target soldier. We only have 1. We need to determine the modified protection. So now from the defender's point of view, we need protection. So we go to the charts And we're in a building, and there's a protection value, which is a 6. So that's going to be the 6 column that the defender is going to use. And that can be modified. Is there smoke impinging? No. Are we prone? No. Are we pinned to, which is kind of like prone? No. Are we in improve? No. Is the soldier shooting at us jammed? Not right now. And then these are all for crew weapons, which we'll talk about with crew. So there's a lot of things that can modify protection. In our case, protection's on modified, and I said it was a 6. Determine the target soldier's modified morale. This is going to be our success number. It's our base morale, leader, and hero. Terrain does not factor here because protection took into account terrain. So 6, our base plus the leader. Our base morale is a 2, and right is next door. That makes it a 3. So we need a 3 on a 6. 3 on a 6. He got 4. That's greater. He'd be pinned. If it was less, 3 on a 6, 3 or less on a 6 is a success. There would be no effect. If on the 6, I'm going to draw till I get something. There, if it was yellow, we stop. We don't use a 3. Yellow means something bad happened to the firer's weapon. That bolt action, as he's running the bolt, putting shots downrange, he has a malfunction. And we need to determine what kind of malfunction that is. So that's under jam. As soon as you get yellow, you go down to the yellow, jammed. Determine the jam value of the weapon. That's on the card. All the weapon characteristics are here. His jam number is 4. Column of 4. Crew, it could be modified if you have a crew. Use a modified rally morale in the purple here. Soldier, terrain, leader, hero. 4. And he's a 2, 3. He needs a 3 and a 4. If he rolls if he draws a 3, 2, or 1, it will just be a misfire. His bolt temporarily stuck, and he took a moment to cycle his weapon, and the shooting is done for this turn. He's only going to get the 1 shot off. If there were 2 soldiers there, and this was the first one he was trying to resolve, firing would stop after the first soldier. You would not get a shot at the second because he's fiddling with his rifle. If he draws a 4 on the 4, it's actually a jam. How do you jam a bolt rifle? Well, the way I see it is he's got bad ammo and he got a squib. A bullet went partway down the barrel and got stuck. And he has to stop, get out his ramrod, and push the bullet out of the barrel so he doesn't blow his gun up. That stops him from shooting, and he'll get a jam marker. If you just misfire or you're out of ammo, he's fumbling around for more rounds, you'll be able to fire again next round with no impact. If you jam, you got to fix the weapon. He's got to get his ramrod out and sit there and clear his gun. So we draw in the 4 column, and he drew a 3, so that's just a misfire. Now we have to resolve the attack. So we have a 3 on a 6 yet. 5. Oh, but because of the misfire, we have a new modifier. When we look at our protection, base protection, and then we've got a jam misfire. Because he's firing at us with a misfire, there's a -2 now to your protection column. So we have to go back to our protection column. See, it's a little bit complicated. It's not that bad. Protection for a building is a 6. -2 is a 4. So now it's a 4, and his modified morale was 3. He needs a 3 on a 4, and he got a 1. But the 1 there is red. That's red, right? My red vision is really bad. Yeah, that's red. So he passes. he is not pinned, but the red number means we've got to do a KIA check. So if the column is greater, it's pinned 1. Or if he was prone, you immediately go to pin 2. If the column value is less than, it's not pinned. If the column number is red, whether you're pinned or not, you do a KIA check. So the KIA check, you have to use your card again for the terrain. For building, the KIA number is a 3. You're going to draw a card and read the KIA value. The KIA value, let me put this out here, is the 10 column. See, it says KIA. Let me make it a little bigger. We got screen. 10 column. So 3, 2, or 1, he's a casualty. So you draw, and it's an 8. So he's not a casualty, but it's red. You can modify your KIA. If you're in Foxhole, it's -1. So instead of a 3, it'd be a 2 or a 1. Improved position -2. Jam or misfire -2. Oh, we got the jam and misfire to consider. So as a 3, we'd need a 1 in order to be a casualty because they're firing at us with a defective weapon. If it's less, you're dead. If it's greater, and the value is red, which it is, the soldier routs. So even though we did not get killed, the shots freak him out. He drops his coffee cup and runs away and abandons the building. Not so good. So he would actually be marked rout. He'd be off board routed. And boom, he's gone. Building's open. This guy be marked complete. Let's see, that'd be option. Complete. These guys would finish their move. This would be 1 + 1 is 2. We could do opportunity fire. We'll talk about that in our next. And then 3, and then 6 to take the building. If Ward is unable to do opportunity fire, the Germans are going to have successfully taken this building with May laying down fire and the 2 assaulters moving in. You can see that real, reasonable World War II infantry tactics are modeled fairly decently here for a rather simple and streamlined game. You can do fire and movement. You can assault. You can have reaction fire, opportunity fire, however you want to call it. It is just a whole heck of a lot of fun. So, within the next couple of days, this sheet will be released. And if you just walk through this, it will take care of everything for you for the firing process. The main things are to know your modified firing morale, your modified protection, your target morale, how to deal with jams if and when they occur, and how to deal with your KIA checks, your casualty checks. I prefer to call them casualty checks because there aren't wounds modeled in this game, so what's called a KIA could be just incapacitated, combat ineffective. At any rate, that is the essence of firing. I could go through more examples, but it's not going to add any more detail. It's just going to add time to this video. I think that if you just walk through that, firing should be a heck of a lot easier. And once firing is easier, once you do this a few times, you get to know, you've memorized a few values, this is relatively fast. You're just like, oh, do I have LOS? What's my attenuation? You can rapidly determine your modifiers because there's some that are just really common. Terrain is common. Leaders are common. Prone is common. The others are much less common. And the cheat sheet will help you to remember those. That's firing in a nutshell. I hope you find that helpful because if you can master this, you've got the game. And after that, this is just a heck of a lot of fun. So until next time, this is Cliff. We'll be returning with opportunity fire next time, and I'll see you then.